So, India's got this brand new, landmark data privacy law. It's a huge deal, designed to give you, me, all of us, control of our personal information. But what if I told you the most fascinating parts of this law are actually where the rules don't apply? Today, we're diving deep into the powerful exceptions built right into India's Data Protection Act. Let's get into it.
And this is it, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. You'll hear it called the DPDP Act for short. This is the big one, the foundational legal doc that's going to change how personal data is handled all across India. It's setting new rules for companies and, just as importantly, new rights for all of us.
At its heart, the promise is actually pretty simple. Your data belongs to you, period. Any organization that handles it, the law calls them a data fiduciary, needs two crucial things. First, your clear consent to use your info, and second, a legal duty to keep it safe.
Okay, but what happens when that super clear principle runs headfirst into other massive priorities, like, say, national security, or even just economic growth? Well, this is where the law gets really interesting, and it's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
All those answers? They're tucked away in Chapter 4 of the Act. It's got this formal title, Special Provisions, but you can basically think of it as the chapter on exceptions, all the specific situations where those standard data protection rules can be waived. Here's an easy way to picture it. Imagine the main parts of the Act are like a big, busy highway with clear traffic rules for everybody, speed limits, lanes, you name it. Well, Chapter 4, that's the emergency lane. It's carved out for special situations that need to bypass the regular flow of traffic for a much bigger, more urgent purpose.
So, who exactly gets to use these emergency lanes? The first, and you could argue the most powerful, set of exceptions are made specifically for the state and our legal system.
Section 17 lays out some really key scenarios. For example, the data rules can be set aside when someone needs to enforce a legal right in court or just for courts and judges to do their jobs. But the really broad exemptions, those are for preventing and investigating crime. And this right here, this is probably the most powerful clause in the entire chapter. Just look at the language. Sovereignty, security of the state, public order. It's intentionally broad. It gives the central government this sweeping authority to exempt any of its agencies from the Act's rules. It's a huge carve-out for the state.
Hey, it's not just the government that gets to use the special lanes. The Act also creates some off-ramps for business and for research, because let's face it, data is the fuel for both the economy and for scientific breakthroughs. It's all about trying to balance that privacy with progress.
And this covers a bunch of practical, real-world situations. Think about a big company merger. They need data for due diligence. Or a bank trying to find someone who's defaulted on a loan. The law makes exceptions for this stuff. And, crucially, it also allows for data to be used in research, as long as it's handled properly and not used to make decisions about specific individuals.
But it actually goes even further than that. The Act has this really unique provision that lets the central government literally pick and choose certain kinds of companies and give them even more exemptions. Why? Because they're seen as engines of innovation.
And this slide lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got what pretty much every company has to do. Things like giving you a summary of your data or deleting it if you ask. But on the right, you have these notified startups. The government can let them off the hook for some of these exact requirements, all in the name of helping them innovate faster without getting bogged down.
So what counts as a startup here? It's not just any new business. The key thing to remember is that it has to be officially recognized as a startup by the Indian government. This is to make sure the exemption is targeted and not just a free-for-all.
All right, let's move on to another critical special provision. This one is huge for our global digital world, how the law handles data flowing across India's borders. Now, you might expect the rules to be really strict here, but the default position is actually pretty open. Unlike some other countries, the DPDP Act generally allows personal data to be transferred outside of India. But you guessed it, there is a major catch.
And there it is. While the default setting is open, Section 16 gives the central government a really powerful switch. It can blacklist any country or territory it wants, which would effectively block data from being sent there. So it creates this system where data flows are allowed until the government decides they're not. So after looking at all of these special off-ramps and emergency lanes, you might be asking, why? Why create a whole data protection law and then build in so many ways around it? The answer, really, gets to the core philosophy of the Act itself.
This table really nails the central tension. On one side, you've got the goal of protecting us, the individuals, our right to know, our right to consent. But on the other side, you've got the practical needs of a huge country. national security, supporting new businesses, and just making sure the legal system can work. The entire Act is a constant balancing act between these two columns.
So, the main takeaway is this. Chapter 4 isn't just a random list of loopholes, it's the engine that makes the DPDP Act a pragmatic law for the real world. It's a recognition that while privacy is absolutely a fundamental right, it doesn't exist in a bubble.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? In this massive balancing act between protecting our individual privacy and enabling national progress, has India's new data law found that perfect sweet spot? Honestly, that's the question we'll all be watching the answer to for years to come.
Just a quick note before we go. Please remember this explainer is for educational purposes only. It is definitely not professional legal advice, and of course, laws are always subject to change.
We always recommend you consult with a qualified professional for any advice specific to your situation. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.